Hello, can everyone hear me? Welcome everyone to our Literacy Town Hall, sponsored by the Baltimore's Children's Cabinet. We are so excited to have you all here with us tonight. My name is Julia Baez, Executive Director of Baltimore's Promise. I've had the honor of serving as co-lead of the Literacy Work Group with my partners, Ernest Dorsey from the Mayor's Office of Employment Development and Tanya Terrell with BG&E. I would like to thank all of our work group members and Tisha Edwards, Director of the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, for moving this work forward. We would also like to shout out Leah Ferguson for being our amazing staff support for this effort. I will be joined shortly in this presentation by two awesome co-presenters and work group members, and of course, our rockstar panel of youth and young adult leaders. We will introduce all those folks to you as we get into our conversation together this evening. Next slide. So why are we here? Why are you here? What are we doing together? Under the leadership of Mayor Scott, partners, residents, and young people all across the city have come together through the Children's Cabinet to commit to improving the lives of Baltimore's children and youth. Next slide. This slide shows you the breadth of the leadership of the Children's Cabinet working together to align resources toward our shared goals, which we're about to pull up for you on the next slide. As you can see, there are 7 really critical areas of work and goals reflected here for the Children's Cabinet. There are work groups and town halls on each of these topics. Tonight, we're going to talk about literacy, but please connect with us and the Cabinet about any of the issue areas you see reflected here that you want to be involved in and contribute to together. Next slide. As we get into the conversation around literacy, we wanted to start with our shared definition. We know there are lots of ways folks might define literacy, but for our work together, we are focused on the reading, writing, and speaking of literacy. And most importantly, we are thinking about it in a holistic way, how literacy shows up in work, family, community, and society. Next slide. Tonight, we're going to look at some data together. We'll hear about how our partners at city schools are already addressing literacy. And since we know no one agency or program can do it alone, we will hear what the Children's Cabinet has planned to support youth in Baltimore. And then, most importantly, we will have time to engage with young leaders who will reflect on the issues surrounding literacy and youth in Baltimore today. Next slide. So let's jump into the data, which is not the whole story. The youth leaders will fill out the whole story for you later today, but this is the part of where we want to start together to ground us in the work we're going to do as a committee. Next slide. So this is the first data slide. This slide shows you a sample of 11,000 Baltimore City high school students. The 9th graders pictured here in this data slide are now seniors, and the seniors who are here are now in college and career. At the bottom of the graph are grade levels, ranging from kindergarten to 11th grade. And each of those bars you see represents a different group of students who took the exam. The orange color you see all the way to the right are seniors who took the exam, my right, maybe your left. You can see from this graph that most of those seniors, the year that they took this exam, were reading at an 8th grade level or below right before graduation. Next slide. This slide gives you another way of looking at the data we just showed you. Here you can see the high school literacy rates of 11th and 12th graders. The red part of this graph that you see represents elementary reading levels. So you can see here that both 11th and 12th graders, 50% of those students are reading at an elementary grade level. Next slide. We know that literacy levels can impact your options after high school. Here in Baltimore, most occupational training programs require an 8th grade reading level and a 6th grade math level. When we tracked the class of 2009 for 6 years after high school graduation, we saw that the median income young people in Baltimore with a diploma in hand was only $11,000, well below the poverty line. We also saw in that same 6-year timeline that only 10% of city schools graduates had earned a 4-year degree. So we can see how critically important it is to focus on the issue of literacy as young people make their choices around their post-secondary options. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, the literacy issue doesn't originate just from the school system. This issue is structural, historical, and intentional. The history of redlining communities also happens with youth. When you look at our city's investment in the opportunities our young people can experience, you will see there is a steep and sharp decline as you get older in Baltimore. What does this story tell us about the value and the hope that we have for young adults in Baltimore? Next slide. When you talk to young people, as we will tonight, and we are very fortunate to do so, it is clear that they know what they need and how to address the literacy outcomes we see today. There need to be more opportunities, and those opportunities need to be culturally relevant, and they need to connect to their dreams and allow them to have experiences that build their knowledge. And isn't that what we all want in terms of our lives and opportunities? So I just want to thank you so much for your time this evening and allowing us to sort of help to set the context for the discussion we're going to have together. I'm going to turn it over now to my panelist and colleague, Tina Hike-Hubbard, the Chief of Communications, Engagement, and Enrollment with City Schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia, and good evening, everybody. I'm here to give brief remarks from City Schools about the literacy work that we are doing and about the impact we've done, support for impact of COVID during this pandemic time. Next slide, please. So first off here, we just want to talk about the framing of what City Schools sort of values and where we place our goals. So our blueprint, our guiding North Star is literacy, wholeness, and leadership. For the past 4 years with our CEO, Dr. Santelises, we've really focused on these key areas. As you know, there's many things that are important at City Schools, but if we can have a laser-like focus on these 3 areas, building a great literacy program for our students, a competent program that really addresses our literacy deficits for students or accelerates learning, our wholeness strategy, making sure that we have students who are whole, actualized beings, that we think about trauma, but also think about helping students discover who they want to be and who they are and potential for greatness. And then leadership, developing teacher leaders, developing school leaders, developing student leaders as a key focus of that. Just to highlight quickly on our literacy work, we have really dived into quick curriculum and assessment and looking at wit and wisdom curriculum to provide a higher quality curriculum for our students to deepen our content, both our educators' knowledge of content, but also what students are receiving in content. We also have leveraged teacher voice to bring authentic experiences into the professional learning process. We also have an African American literature team that's thinking about how we focus on improving our ELA curriculum. Our Achieve 3000 lessons can be used to prepare students for increased rigor on high stakes assessments through facilitating close and collaborative discussions with text and multiple sources. For our wholeness work, we've really zeroed in on several key areas: wholeness activities for students, healing circles and activities for adults, mental health supports and therapy if necessary, support for our homeless students, attendance supports, which I'll get to in just a moment, and our extracurricular activities. For leadership, again, we've talked about how we promote development of our leadership for our young folks and our principals and teachers, but I'll talk in a minute about what we're doing for our young people. For community schools, I am so pleased to report that we have 128 community schools coordinators across the city. They have been nothing short of providing Herculean efforts to make sure that our families, students, and schools have what they need during this pandemic. They've been doing food distribution, right? Device distribution, helping resource connections and wellness resources to our families to make sure that they have what they need. They were the ones running our meal sites, doing home visits across the city, dropping off boxes of food at homes and devices and that kind of thing. Our community schools coordinators have been the link that we have needed to families and students during this very trying time. And for family engagement, I would like to highlight that we have hosted 176 listening tours across the city, really trying to understand what families are experiencing during this time, what supports they might need, and how we can be more responsive to it. We are focused on our dual capacity framework. This framework is the idea that we need to train both staff and families for how to engage together. It's not that families come with needing to be fixed or healed or supported, but rather families bring their best selves, staff bring their best selves, and how do we work together to make sure we're supporting students and have the right language to use with each other to engage effectively. We also have opened our Family University during the pandemic. It's an online resource of a plethora of workshops and activities that families can engage in and learn from, anything from how to log on to how to work with my child's teacher to other activities. So I encourage anyone to go to our website and actually look. So far, we've had 8,700 views of our Family University website. Next slide, please. So for city schools, literacy supports and student efforts, we have youth and community engagement as well. We launched this last fall, a youth ambassador program. We really wanted to make sure we could magnify student voice in a way that hadn't been before. You know, my office actually runs family and community engagement, and we've had a youth specialist, my fabulous Rashad Staten, who's been with us for a while, but the program wasn't linked in between family engagement and youth engagement. So had dedicated time and energy to make sure that we are really promoting youth engagement in a positive way. So our youth ambassador program will connect young people and what they care about at their home schools to what we're actually doing in the schools to promote positive programming, changes, etc., so that students have a voice in what's happening both at their schools at the district level. We've also had several youth town halls across the youth town halls and other town halls to make sure we're giving feedback and understanding to both staff and families and students. We've hosted 5 CEO community conversations where we bring her to the community to actually talk to folks. And we have now, through the partnership with Baltimore's Promise, our Pi Portal and quarterly partner convenings, where we're putting together a strategy for having really robust partner engagement at the district. I've heard so many partners during this pandemic raise their hands and say, how can we support city schools? How can we support young people? And we are trying to put together a very deliberate, organized strategy for partners to be able to show up with their best selves and align with city schools' efforts to really support our families during this time and our students. One quick note on our device and distribution, resource distribution. We have purchased over 55,000 laptops for our students. 47,000 of them have been distributed. We are not claiming to be a one-to-one district, but any student who flagged they needed a laptop received one. We also purchased 15,500 hotspots from T-Mobile, and we have 11,500 more coming. So students, if you're listening and you still need to get connected by the internet and you need a hotspot, let your school community know. We'll identify you and make sure that you have one. We also have Comcast Internet Essentials, where we have 900 families who've signed on already. We are sponsoring families through September of next year. Again, it's another way that families can get support through Internet Essentials. And if you have Internet Essentials right now and you're paying for it directly, please notify city schools and we'll make sure we can get you on our list to take care of that. We have 83 meal sites right now. But I think what's really important is that we've served 3.16 million meals, through city schools and families since the beginning of the pandemic. We have not only served our students, but when families, neighborhood residents showed up at our meal sites, we actually fed them as well, because at the crisis moment, we had to make sure we were actually supporting the most basic needs that people needed to have met during that time. Next slide, please. So a couple just quick notes on attendance and academic achievement during this time. For our attendance, as you'll see here, we're comparing our school year 2021 data to our school year 1920 data. And you see that our attendance has gone down a bit. This is overall average attendance. And our virtual logins obviously was not tracked in 1920 because we didn't have that. It didn't exist. But we're now at about 78.9% of regular students logging in virtually. What's concerning for us right now is those that are chronically absent. That means that you've been absent more than 10% of the school year. Last year, while troubling, it was 33.2%. This year, it's 45.9%. We are doing a ton of work around making sure we connect to our young people. We find them if they're not connecting, and we've done over 6,000 home visits to our families to make sure we're getting students back in the classroom. And we understand it's hard, that issues like tech technology access or use, academic struggles, lack of interest in virtual learning, and competing demands. Some of our young people are out there working, right? And we get it. And we're trying to make sure that we are providing both family and community engagement supports, school system supports, district level supports to support the attendance of our young people, so they know that we really want them to be here. We value their presence, and it's not too late to ever come back. If you've missed a quarter, come back to city schools. We want you to come back. Around our academic achievement data, I really want to quickly highlight that we had an issue concerning data we shared when we opened schools back open, right? So we had virtual learning for the first two semesters of about 38 schools in the fall who had in-person learning. We've now opened it up to all of our schools K through 5 and our 12th and our 6 through 8 and our 12th graders. The middle school will be coming back right after spring break. But the data on our students was alarming, that we have students who have a course failure or more. If you look at 1920, for pre-K 1, it's 29%, and in quarter 2, it was 21 was 39%. But what's most alarming is our 6th through 12th graders, right? That in quarter 1 of 1920, we had 38% who had a course failure or more, which is repairable. You can make it up through summer recovery courses, that kind of thing. But we're now sitting at first quarter at 60% of our students having a course failure or more. This is an alarming rate to us. This is why we opened schools back in person, so that our students could come and get this help and supports they need in person to fix this concern and make sure we're providing the right robust academic supports for students in person. And if they're not coming back in person, that we also offer that virtually to our students as well, to make sure that we are mitigating the impacts that COVID has had on our students. I will close there, and thank you for your time. And go to the next slide.
Good evening, everyone. I have the awesome opportunity to actually introduce 2 strategies that were lifted up as a part of the literacy work group. So I'm excited to be able to share these with you. Next slide. So the first opportunity is Earn and Learn. This is an amazing opportunity that's a partnership between the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, Baltimore's Promise, City Schools, and the Enoch Pratt Library. This is an amazing space where young people will have the opportunity to learn and earn at the same time, just as the name says. They'll have an opportunity to leverage their youth works placement to get career exposure, additional academic support, tutoring, mentoring, all while having a very specific lens to cultural competency, relevancy, and ensuring that young people feel safe, supported with all of the wraparound supports that they need. We know that young people are looking forward to youth works, and they have looked forward to youth works for, when they get to a certain age, we know that they want to do youth work. So this is a great opportunity to have those young people supported. We heard Tina Highcover talk a little bit about, the alarming data that is happening right now with young people. So this is a great opportunity for rising 10th graders to be able to learn while they earn. And you'll be able to get a little bit more information about how to get in touch with these programs in the follow-up. Next slide. The second opportunity and demonstration project that's happening is the expansion of the adult high school model. This is I'm personally excited about this particular program. This is an opportunity to create a new pathway for high school completion for adults, and for young adults 16 to age 24. They'll have the opportunity to participate in a learning environment that is supported, self-paced, gives you the ability to link to a community hub of services, thinking back to what community schools are to traditional K-12 students. This is the reimagination of that. It's an opportunity for young people to get connected to educational supports, employment supports, real life experiences, all while ensuring that they have all of the supports that they need in order to be successful. We know that no one pathway is the right pathway for young people. So this is a great opportunity that the city is presenting to young people to be able to realize their true potential. So I am going to, next slide. Those are those 2 amazing opportunities. I have the pleasure of hosting the amazing youth panel that you're going to hear from. These young people, I have had the pleasure of getting to know over several days and weeks, and I am excited to hear their voice. They are excited to share their thoughts, and let's go ahead and start with our amazing panel. All right. So, panelists, we just heard a lot of data and information about youth literacy in the state of Baltimore. What are your thoughts around what the data says? I'll go ahead and start with Diamond.
I believe the data is showing that Baltimore City has a lot of work to do as far as getting the literacy rates to improve in Baltimore City. You can tell that they are trying their best to, get the rates up at a level, but they need more support from, outside influences. They can't do it on their own. So that's where, we have our mental supports and our familial supports and our mentor supports come in, and that, we'll be able to increase our levels once we, get all the support that we need. Like we said, it always takes a village.
I love that. Thank you, Diamond. I'm going to go next to Omani.
Thank you so much, Diamond. I agree. From the pie chart with the over 50% of our students having elementary school level of reading, that shows me that the elementary school dropped the ball between that transition from elementary school to middle school. So we should revisit that elementary school learning curriculum and how it's been received before we transition to the higher levels of learning.
Thanks, Omani. Sydney?
Thank you, Omani. I agree with what you just said, and I actually would like to add on to that. Being a student at a Baltimore City public school, I definitely see their efforts and the strategies that they try to implement on us for our reading, but I honestly feel like there's so much more that can be done, and there is life outside of school, and so many factors can contribute to, their literacy and things like that outside of, what they're putting in front of us. So I would like to touch more on that later.
Yeah, thank you. Kelsey?
Hello, everyone. So I would like to focus on the iReady data set that they showed us. First thing I would like to say is students don't understand the importance and the relevance of taking this test. And as a student myself who taken this test before, I didn't understand the relevance and the importance of taking this test either, which means we don't take this as seriously. And educators and the school system doesn't teach us how important this is to us, especially because it doesn't affect our grade. It doesn't help us graduate high school. It's just a test that they want us to take, and just for the data set. And because it doesn't help us, because it's not important and relevant to us, students and youth are not encouraged enough to take this test, which means the data set is gonna rapidly decrease, because as they get older, it's like all they want to do is just graduate and leave, And I've heard this from many youth, and I've heard this from myself too. I think this too. All I just want to do is get good grades, pass, and leave. I'm not gonna do something that doesn't that's not important to me, that's not relevant to me. And I feel like that's a great issue, and I feel like the city should implement a helpful a way to give students an importance, tell them that it's actually important, and then give them, oh, if you do this test, you might get service learning hours. So there's like a reason, and there's an opportunity where, oh, if I do this test, I'm able to gain something, and it's not just like irrelevant to them, So yeah, I feel like that would be very helpful. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. And I'm a bad host and facilitator, because I was so excited to hear your voice. I forgot to give you all the opportunity to introduce yourselves. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Kelsey and give you an opportunity to just give us a little bit of information about you. Your name, are you still in school? Are you not in school? Your grade? What's going on with you?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsey Bista. I'm an intern from Elevate Baltimore. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it that I get to that I have a chance to share my voice and opinion, be an advocate for other youth in Baltimore. And I do go to school. I'm in 12th grade right now. I'm trying to get into community college and all that college readiness stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
What school do you go to?
I go to Youth Opportunity right now. Hopefully I get to graduate soon enough. I've had some problems in the beginning, but I'm working my way out of that hole. So hopefully I get there soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing. Sydney?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sydney Johnson, and I currently attend the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, and I am a youth in the Heart Smiles youth-led project called Heart Smiles. And basically, I'm just so happy to be here and give my perspective on this problem that we have.
Thank you, Sydney. Omani.
Hello, everyone. My name is Omani Placid. I am an alumni to the Grads to Careers program, the Biotechnical Institute of Maryland. I am an alum of Baltimore City College High. I graduated 2017. I work alongside Baltimore's Promise as a consultant and a youth advocate for my work experience in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math in that field, and just helping to improve the literacy in our communities.
Thank you. And last but definitely not least, Diamond.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diamond Spruell. I'm also an alumni to Grads to Careers, where I attended for the medical front office program. And I'm also an alum to the great Baltimore City College as well, class of 2016. And I believe my connection to literacy is that I've been fortunate enough to understand literacy greater than others. So if I can give my input and how others can, anybody can grasp on the concept of understanding literacy, and me being on the outside looking in, I could give, insight on problem solving techniques.
Thank you. And thank you all for indulging me in that late introduction. For those that are joining us, these are the content area experts. So, we are not just having youth voice because it's the right thing to do. These are the individuals that know best what's going on with young people. So can you talk a little bit about your personal relationship around literacy, and what do you do to encourage others that are in, maybe not in the same sort of space with literacy as you are? I'm going to go ahead and jump to Omani first.
Thank you so much. I believe what Kelsey was saying is very important, is the engagement, paying it forward, showing that we respect and appreciate the energy and the time that our young people sacrifice for us to grow and move forward. I've gone to schools and done live shows. I promote poetry. I promote motivation and positivity on my page. I promote financial growth and literacy with trading, and growing yourself, yourself and spiritual. I connect based off of things that I rely with. Trade, so things that I'm in the area. I advocate for grads to graduate. Come literacy. That's networking. I'm teaching people how to network. So there's other ways that we can make literacy attractive when you meet people where they at in their walk of life. That's how I connect with people.
Thank you so much. Sydney, what your thoughts?
So what stood out to me with what Omani just said was definitely meeting people where they're at. I agree with that 100%, because for me, I know I surround myself with a diverse group of people. I have friends that probably never read a book in their life. I have friends that love books, and I have me who loves books and all. So, I definitely just try to encourage people as much as I can, and basically, do things like tell somebody about something interesting that I might think is interesting. But, like Amani also said, not everybody is into different things. So I try my best to basically, put it out there like, hey, like, I think you might like this. Like, I just made my dad read Rich Dad, Poor Dad after I got done reading it. I ask him every week, so Dad, what did you learn this week? and he'd start quoting stuff out the book, and I'd be like, oh, you did your homework. Okay. So, just little stuff like that. I just love just providing people with things that I might think they like, and I just love hearing their feedback. And if they don't like it, I try to go out and find other resources I might think fits them best. That's what I do.
I love that idea of young people pushing adults into, being engaged with the text in a different kind of way. That's awesome. Kelsey, your thoughts?
Hi. So the way I relate to youth literacy is, as a student myself, I've been in a position where I was not able to go into the library to study, or have a environment, a space to read and write, because of family situations. And I feel like we should understand that some students don't have that space and environment to really elevate their academic level. And we need to understand that because of the situations, people, especially youth, are not able to reach where they can and what they're capable of. And I feel like I would like to encourage that maybe we should understand the youths more, I guess, their personal situation, and try to help them and help them have their own space, environment, maybe show them around libraries and show them around college, and see you could have the space and you could have this environment in order to elevate your academic level. So thank you.
Yeah. And Diamond, what are your thoughts?
I'm glad that I had the pleasure of going after Kelsey, because she actually spoke on a component that I think was a reason why I had such success in my literacy growing up. My mother, she would take us to the library, and we also had a heavy book presence in our household. We didn't have a bookshelf, but they were we had a computer desk, and they were like so many books. We probably only read about a couple of those books. But just the fact that we had them in our household, if somebody was on the computer, you pick up a book and do something. We got in trouble with our mother, you were reading a book. So, and then the fact that we only picked up a certain couple of, we only read probably about 4 of them, but we kept reading them. It just connects to we need to keep books culturally relevant, because some people are their mindset and their attention span is not, great enough to grasp on certain concepts that are being portrayed in these books. So I think that's a key component in, increasing literacy, making it so that people have a reason to connect, have a reason to want to read. So, yeah.
Thanks. Thank you for sharing that. And I know you had a very personal story that you wanted to talk about with your mom and literacy. So it's exciting to hear that you all had books surrounding your home, and that's amazing. So, I'm just going to shift a little bit and ask you all, from practitioners in the field, what are your suggestions for organizations, like an Elevate, like a Baltimore's Promise, other organizations that are doing the work and wanting to support young people? What can they do to better support young people? How can we be a better supportive adult environment for young people? I'm going to go ahead and kick us off with Sydney this time.
I would love to touch on this. So first, I would like to say, make it relevant. Whatever it is, the novels, the assignments, make it relevant. Because I was just telling my mom the other day, Mom, I can't relate to Greek mythology. I don't know what Hercules got to do with me and how I'm gonna, do taxes in the future, how I'm gonna buy a house in the future. I don't know none of that, and I just feel like everyone goes through different things. So everyone might need different answers to different things. And some people might just enjoy more so nonfiction or maybe fiction, but I honestly feel like it should all be engaging. It should all be what someone wants to read. The youth loves options. If the youth feels confined to a certain topic or a certain thing, they're not going to want to do it, because something that might be wild to someone might not be to the other person, if that makes sense. Somebody might love, I don't know what, Greek mythology, but another person might more so wrap around towards financial literacy, or someone else might like more so of Dungeon Dragons and stuff like that, whatever everyone is interested in. So the truth is, the youth is not going to engage in things they're not interested in. And another thing I would just like to touch on, especially during this virtual environment, I feel like it's a very hard time to separate life from home. So, the teachers are assigning virtual books, to read on our virtual phones and things like that. What kid is going to sit on their phone and read book for a long period of time? Yeah, I want chapters 1 through 8. done by next class. They're sitting there, they read, they get notifications. Next thing you know, the book is out of their head. So I definitely think it's things like that that needs to be done. And one more thing,
Yeah.
I feel like everyone has different situations. Some youth does not have a quiet place they can sit in their room and read a book for an hour, or to sit there and complete their work for an hour. So I feel like there needs to be different strategies for different situations, because everyone doesn't have what, someone might have. So that's what I feel like. Everything needs to be considered when dealing with someone in their personal life and, what works for them.
Thanks, Sydney. I appreciate you. Kelsey, your thoughts. What can we do better as adults?
Mm-hmm. So, especially programs like Elevate and Baltimore Promise, as Diamond said before, I feel like we should have more resources like books and computers, and which will help youth and students like have different type of resources to increase their grade level, increase their academic level. And me myself being a second English is my second language, so it's really hard to understand some vocabulary and stuff like that. And I'm still working on it. And I feel like we should have more ESOL programs where we can help people who came from different countries, like immigrants, help them understand the basic vocabulary of English. And I feel like those would be really great programs and advocate to include. So thank you.
Thank you. Diamond, what do you think?
I believe that the professionals should become more in tune with their students and who they are, teaching things to, because at the end of the day, it's more than just teaching a student how to read. You want to build that relationship so the student can feel, compelled to learn from you, to want to read. I know if I have a teacher who I feel don't care about me, why would I want to listen to them? So I feel like the teacher-student relationship has to improve first, and then that's when we can, move on to and reaching other levels such as literacy and comprehension and things of that nature, because that first level of need is not being met yet. So how can we continue to advance to the next levels?
Thank you. That's you're speaking truth to power, sis. Omani, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I agree with all of these powerful perspectives. Along the same lines, I would say focus on potential. We are diamond in the roughs where that ball of yarn needs to be pulled out. If we're focusing on the A's and the A's and the A's, and someone isn't producing that certain level, then they might not be able to say, hey, I'm at the level of success that I want to be at now, but I can get there. We can't judge people based on where they at and say that this is all you can do based off of what they've been given. Like, for example, what Sydney's been saying, like, everyone might not blow up trying to explain their passion on Dungeons and Dragons or certain things. But when you work to get the potential out of somebody and not an A out of somebody or a grade out of somebody, you find what they can soar at. This isn't a one-way succeeding path. This is what can you do to make your life. Not the system's life, not the program's life, your life. That's what I agree with.
Yo, yes. All the high fives. You guys are like, you're giving me life and joy. The next question I really want to focus on, we talked a lot about, what can organizations, do different to engage young people, but, we know that there are other barriers, right, to young people even participating. There could be, the best program out there that, addresses, English language learner population that is rooted in, cultural competency and, supports young people where they're at and gives them options. But what are the barriers that you all are seeing from yourself or from your peers in accessing high quality programs? I'm going to go ahead and start us off with Kelsey this time.
Okay, so barriers, I have a lot actually.
Go ahead, sis.
I feel like a lot of students, especially in high school and 11th grade, 12th grade, and on the verge of dropping out. And I myself relate to that. I was really close to getting I'm done with school. I'm gonna get my GED. I'm tired. I can't handle it. I had this great mentorship. His name is Alfred Griffin, and he has helped me through a lot. He has helped me get back on my feet. He has helped me get back in high school. I'm doing really great right now. I'm getting straight A's and stuff like that. So I feel like having good mentorship programs would be really helpful. And like for myself, it had helped me a lot. I'm in a whole different level. So mentorship programs, definitely. So yes.
Great, thank you. Diamond, your thoughts? What barriers are young people facing to even participating in these awesome programs?
Well, first, I feel like the first barrier that most people are like, they're stopping themselves. Most of our like people who are struggling with literacy rates, based off the data and statistics, we saw that our 11th and 12th graders were reading at a kindergarten through 5th grade level. Now, we all know that's not cool, but we also know that they think it's not cool to improve that literacy rate. So they're stopping themselves first. They have to break that mental pride and, get to the bottom of that and work on that. And like the saying goes, you can't help nobody who don't want to help themselves. Like we had these programs out here, but there's other burdens, but we also had to realize that some people might have a mental burden inside themselves, stopping them from achieving greatness and achieving that next level.
Thanks so much. That's great observation. Omani?
Wow, I mean, that was powerful. That made me think. I agree with you. If we're shooting out numbers, like this amount of people who fall under this reading level, and not always have a solution or be as passionate about finding a solution, those people who fall in that category might feel this self versus self conflict of insecurities and not vocalize what they need in order to grow, because it's hard to open up humbly and say, yo, I need to grow. I'm lacking in this area. So the way we target problems and be a solution-based system, that will draw out people and make them feel comfortable to take the first step to grow.
Great. I think we have time for maybe one last question before final thoughts. Just piggybacking on the last question we talked
I'm sorry,
about.
Miss Alex, I didn't go.
Oh, my child.
It's fine. It's fine. I've been waiting.
Thank you for checking me, holding me accountable as an adult. I got you. Sydney,
of course.
You got this.
I just want to say that realism needs to be incorporated in these strategies that we're thinking of. You want to talk about barriers within my peers and myself. I know I have friends that are teen moms. I heard about a strategy called the out of school time strategy that provides a daycare, while the mom is in school. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. Transportation, meals, flexible schedules. Anybody can make up a program and say, yes, from Monday through Friday, 3 to 6, but the mom might have be like, oh, you know what? Well, I can't do that because this is what's going on with me from 3 to 6. I know that I have to watch my kid from 3 to 6. So I feel like if it's flexibility and different options and stuff like that, this goes back to when I say the youth needs options, because everyone is in different households. Everyone has different circumstances and situations. I feel like options create minimal excuses. That's what I say about that.
Yeah, I got you. So, and I'm going to stick with you, Sydney, on this one. Oh, go ahead, Omani. Go ahead. I got you. Jump on in, brother.
What you said about that many options?
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was agreeing with Sydney. So he said something powerful. He said the more options, it minimizes.
Yep. Cool. So we talked about organizations, what barriers that young people have and what can organizations do differently to attract young people. We know that families, are dealing with a lot, right, in Baltimore. And it's not because families don't care about what young people are going through and don't have the level of importance placed on education. I'm a firm believer that that's not the case. But what can families do from your perspective? What can moms and dads and, other siblings and those other supportive adults that you all have in your personal life, what can we do differently to support you all in your journey around literacy? I'm going to go ahead and keep us on Sydney so I don't forget you again, sis.
Okay, that's fine. So honestly, I say that parents and teachers should show the same engagement they want the students to show. Honestly, check-ins, did you do this? Or actually become one with the student, become one with the parent, instead of, having that teacher authority. Don't get me wrong, authority is fine, but instead of staying in that mode, don't be afraid to come out of that a little bit. Become their friend, you know what, I think it's this book you might like, let's read this together. Or I think, you know, there's something that I can get you interested in that has something to do with what you want to do, your version of success, things like that. And all I got to say about this one is that the student eventually becomes, the teacher eventually becomes the student. The teacher becomes the student, y'all. I'm trying to tell you, it is something that everyone can learn from everybody. No one is too good to learn something new. So, yeah.
Yes. Diamond, any thoughts?
Yes, I think that, well, I would like to go back to an initiative that I remember when I was in school. I remember like the teacher would send home like a reading log, and then like your parent would have to sit down with you and make sure that you read the book and you sign off for the log for that day. Now, I think that's a great way to, have the student and the teacher and the parent all have some type of cohort where they know that we are focusing on one goal, a reading goal. But the problem with that is, are people really doing it? How can we, make sure that they are comprehending what they are reading? Because it's anything to say, oh, read this, but do you understand it? You know what I'm saying? And also I wanted to speak on like my personal experience. Like I remember like my mother, she didn't just like, I remember her asking me, like not only asking me how was school, but what did I learn today? And I used to hate that question. I'm like, you wasn't even in school with me. Why I gotta answer to you what I learned in school? Like you were at work clocked in somewhere. But like, be more engaging. Like it's anything to like just have your child, send them off to school and send them back home and that's it. But be more engaging with your child and make sure you know what's going on in that classroom, because if you don't, then that's your future. That's your investment. You should want to check on it, make sure the progress is progressing the way it should be. So that's why I don't understand why there may be a lack of teacher, parent, and involvement, but hopefully that motivates them to be more involved.
Thanks, Diamond. Kelsey, any thoughts?
Yes.
What can families do different, or other adults in your lives?
Right. I feel like parents should understand that it's not just academic that a student needs to become better. It's also outside of like after school opportunities, like programs like clubs and stuff. They need to be able to participate to become better and be more engaged with other youth. For myself, I remember I wanted to do cheerleading when I was younger, when I was in freshman year, and I wasn't able to do it because I had to go home and watch my sister. So I did like half a season and I quit because I had to do other things. And because my parent didn't understand that, that after school clubs and stuff like that is important. It's only academics. And they need to understand we need to have the extracurriculums to elevate our friendship and our skill set and our mindset, because that is very important, not just academic. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree. Social, emotional, and connection with friends is really important. Omani, you have the final word before we have final thoughts.
Yeah, I just agree with everyone. I believe that individuality, if we give our loved ones just the opportunity to express themselves and to vocalize the books that they're writing in their own head, the pages that they're replaying in their own head, then we can take that time to focus on what this book is talking about. If I got books in my head that no one knows, I'm going through the pages and I don't want to talk about another book. So when we focus on just expression, like I do music, I believe in like my gifts, but it helps me. It's therapeutic. I take control over bad circumstances by doing it in a cool way and saying it in a cool way that makes me feel strong when I revisit these moments. Not everyone has a way to take power to revisit moments where they felt weak. Not everyone has a way to vocalize for themselves when they felt silence. So being that place where they can output that, just being that place, man. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, thank you. So any final thoughts anybody would like to share? Any words of wisdom you want to leave us with as we are closing out? Diamond,
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have something.
Yes,
I just want everybody to remember these two things that I said. The teacher becomes the student, and options create minimal room for excuses. Thank you for having me, though.
You heard Sydney. Y'all better put pen to paper and make sure you remember that. Diamond, any final thoughts?
Yes, I would like to say thank you for taking that first step and understanding the problem, because that is always something that needs to be acknowledged and thanked for, because most our professionals, they don't really care, they're just there for a paycheck. So just for you guys being here, so I commend you guys for taking that first step, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Omani, any final thoughts?
Yes, the youth need an open ear and they need a mic to express themselves.
Okay. Wise beyond your years. Kelsey, final thought.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to share my voice and experience. I'm really honored to be here. I just want to say, please always support your kids and your children to make them better for the future, because they are the future, and you need to understand that they're going to be the next leaders, and we need to support them as much as we can. Thank you.
Well, you all heard it directly from these 4 young people. They are our leaders right now. They are not our next leaders. They are leading now, and we are following suit. And I hope that you all had an opportunity. I thank each and every one of you for sharing your thoughts, being vulnerable with us this evening. I am happy to be in this space with you all. So I am now going to turn it over for our closing thoughts. Thank you all.
Well, that was amazing. I just want to pause and just say thank you to all of our panelists, but to our young people who clearly gave us a charge forward and a path we need to follow. I just, so just applause, like a round of applause wherever you are, plus in the chat box, whatever you need to do, just, want to shout out our young leaders today. And also to realize that there's 80,000 other students in Baltimore City schools who need the same level of love and support and attention and a mic, as Omani said. And so as we really think about this work, it's critical, it's hard, it's generational, it's long overdue. And as my colleague Sydney said on the panel, it is intergenerational. So we need you to join us. We need you to join the young people that you heard today and the other young people in Baltimore who are looking for those opportunities and connections. So if you want to stay engaged or support the efforts around youth literacy, we'll be sending a follow-up email to everyone who registered. Take a look, check out the information in there. And I think, as Diamond brought up, having books at home is great. And so any young person who attended tonight who's interested, fill out the survey and we'll send you a $20 gift certificate to Charm City Books. Pick out a book or two and start to build that at-home library, as well as check out the Enoch Pratt Library. I saw some notes in the chat box around how to connect with them as a family or a young adult. Finally, the Baltimore Children's Cabinet will host another town hall next month on the topic of early childhood development. Please join us on April 13th at 7 p.m. for that conversation. Thank you again to our panelists and to everyone who joined us tonight. Thank you. We look forward to continuing the conversation with all of you.